Martin Wernli, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Kongsberg has a fairly large presence in the Shanghai Pilot Free Trade Zone. Why did you choose this zone for your supply chain and tech service centres?
Yeah, actually there are various reasons why we did this, and we are established here in Shanghai since more than 25 years, active in China since more than 40 years, and in the free trade zone since about 10 years. We established ourselves in the free trade zone because they're offering preferential policies. So preferential policies, especially for import and export. There are logistic advantages, so it's close to the big airports, close to the big ports here in Shanghai, and of course also certain taxation benefits. So when we are using all this, we can actually optimize our supply chain operations in China, but also for supplying our markets and customers around in the surrounding shipbuilding countries, especially in Korea, Japan, and also in Singapore. And so we are able to provide better service to customer, being faster, more efficient, and basically also use the very good infrastructure and the international environment in the free trade zone.
Now, one goal of Shanghai's 14th five-year plan is to emerge as a world-class international shipping centre by 2025. Now, that also clearly stipulates the use of energy-saving technology in the shipping sector. How does your company intend to move that forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, energy saving is for our company at the core of our activities. I mean, we from Kongsberg Maritime, we offer a wider range of products and services and also solutions, basically going from the bridge on the ship down to the propeller. So we have automation system, control systems, dynamic positioning, electricity management, energy management, propulsion systems, deck machinery, and you name it, and including ship design. So if you look at each of those products, you can of course then design them in a very, let's say, energy saving way. But the real key and the added value actually is to combine all these products together and to have one solution which we can provide to customers, which in the end is much more energy efficient than combining just a big number of single products. And this is one of the major assets. I think saving electricity by optimized energy management will in the end save fuel, and by saving fuel we have less emissions by definition. And another way, of course, is that we are supporting technologies that are dealing with alternative fuels, especially fuels that have less carbon, like ammonia, methanol, hydrogen, LNG. So all this combined together, so alternative fuels together with optimized solutions for ship propulsion will achieve savings in greenhouse gas emissions and eventually also contribute to climate neutrality or carbon neutrality by 2025 and beyond then.
The shipping industry has, as you've just sort of mentioned, a lot of environmental challenges that it needs to overcome. What do you think are the key elements for environmental and social governance for maritime enterprises that are doing business here in China, especially as this country has set that goal of reaching carbon neutrality by 2060?
Yeah, this is of course, there are certain topics which are closely related to shipping industry, and others are, I would say, applicable to any kind of industry operating in China, but also in other places of the world. If you look at the three components of ESG, so environment, social matters and governance, I think on the environment is, as just described, a key factor here to develop products, solutions and technologies which help the customers to save energy, to have more, let's say, alternative fuels emitting less carbon dioxides and other emissions, and thereby reducing their environmental footprint. So this is one aspect. The second aspect is actually that we as a company here, and like other companies as well, we have to operate by reducing our climate footprint. Our climate footprint, meaning by what kind of suppliers are we using, how are we behaving ourselves, how are we heating up our office, what kind of transportation sources we are using. So these are the two elements, basically technology on the one side towards customers, and internally reduce our own climate footprint. If we talk about the social matters, there's of course a big array of that one. So we have, for example, intense inclusive company culture. So no discrimination is certainly very important. Observe human and labor rights. And be dedicated to the constant development of our own employees, both on the professional and on the personal side. And then finally on the governance side, so this last point of this ESG, Actually, we and any other companies also, we are striving to have a strictly ethical business conduct and a stringent code of compliance, which we adhere to. That is mandatory for everyone in our company and in other companies as well. And of course, we have internal control systems that make sure that we are always aligned with all applicable regulations and laws, be it local, domestic, or international laws and regulations. So these are the three elements.
Now, I wanted to turn to Shanghai's status as a shipping centre. We saw the recently released Xinhua Baltic International Shipping Centre Development Index showing Shanghai ranking third. That comes after Singapore and London. From your experience and your observations, what has Shanghai sort of achieved the most during the past year, and what does it need to work on a bit more?
Yes, Shanghai has come a tremendous way, and I think this place is absolutely merited, I would say. If you look at the main factors which, according to my view, are decisive and influencing here this decision or this ranking, there may be main four factors. One is actually the rapid development of a modern port infrastructure. So you need to have a port, otherwise ships cannot come, that's obvious. And port infrastructure in Shanghai with two big international seaports, it's actually pretty good. Then the ship service capacity and capability needs to be improved. So if the ships are coming here, they need to be serviced, all kind of services. They need to be furnished with equipment. They need to be repaired, maintained. You need to be able to exchange the crews. And this is happening in a very professional way in Shanghai. Third effect, I would say, is the free trade zone we just talked about. The free trade zone is actually helping the shipping industry to have more efficient processes, also in importing, exporting goods, or not even importing, just going through free trade zone and then exporting to another place. So as a transshipment, very important. And finally, and this is, I think, very important, is it's a stable and international business environment. So for attracting, when shipping is essentially an international business, and to attract international business, you need to have an environment which is open for international contacts, able to handle international customers, and also stable. And I think Shanghai has achieved very much these four goals. And the result is, I would say, that you have here in Shanghai a sort of a shipping cluster. It's a cluster which is in a way unique because it's combining shipping company, logistic companies, ship financing companies, and technical equipment companies like ours. And if you look at other shipping centers around the world, almost everywhere one of those at least is missing. It's only Shanghai where you have all four of those. And that's certainly part of the success and part why this ranking has been as it is.
And lastly, what are the key points that Kongsberg Maritime wants to deliver at the North Bund International Shipping Forum?
So for us, the key points going forward is actually that shipping, it's the backbone of world trade, and world trade is the backbone of globalization. And globalization has finally shown its benefit and the big benefits over the last years to develop economies, also developing economies and economies on the way of development, but also helping the developed economies to get further. So shipping is extremely important, I would say, to keep world trade going on. Shipping already today is actually the most environmental friendly way of transporting large amounts of goods over very long distances. If you look at the CO2 emission per transported ton and mile, it's by far the lowest compared to anything else. But this does not prevent us from the fact that shipping needs to step up here as well and take its share in reducing the greenhouse gas emissions and aiming at a carbon neutral shipping technology and shipping industry to reach the goals which are set by the International Maritime Organization, IMO, and by the Chinese government. One key factor of doing this is, of course, to collaborate, because individual companies have individual solutions. But if we collaborate actually with other companies, both domestic and foreign, in a shipping cluster, shipbuilding cluster like we have here in Shanghai, then we have a chance to develop new technologies and also to face the challenges that are coming up to us.
Martin Wernli, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome, it's a pleasure. Thank you.